and some chat or text, that could also be a source. So a source is something that appears on screen, and a scene is a collection of sources. So the first thing we're going to be covering in this video is how you add your video game to OBS. The first thing that you need to make sure that you have is your video game running on your computer. When you're in your video game, it's worth just quickly looking at your game settings. So if you go into your video options from within the game and see what you have selected for display mode. Typically, if you have it set to full screen, that should give you the best frame rates in-game, but it can give you some heavy delays when alt-tabbing, which is probably something that you're going to have to do a fair amount, especially if you only have a single monitor and you're going to want to be reading Twitch chat. If you are going to be alt-tabbing a lot, you don't have a second monitor that you can quickly refer to, then you're probably going to want to set the game to run in a borderless window. This basically makes the game seem like it's running full screen, but it's actually running in a window, so you can alt-tab much quicker, but it will be at the expense of some FPS loss. So now you've got your game running and you have your display mode set how you want it. You want to go back to OBS, and there's a few different methods that you can use to capture the game. Some methods work better than others, and it completely depends on the game. Since every game is coded differently by different companies, they may require slightly different setups in OBS. There's absolutely loads of information on the OBS forums, which I've linked in the description below. So if you're having issues with a specific, make sure to see if anyone else has had a similar issue. Now there are 3 different methods that I would recommend for capturing your game. I would start with game capture, and if that doesn't work, go to window capture, and if that doesn't work, finally go to display capture. I'm going to cover all 3 of them quickly now. So if we start with game capture, if you go down to the menu and click the plus icon, or you can right click and choose add, we want to select game source. Here you can enter the name of the application if you want to, name of the game that you're going to be capturing. Now the default mode that should pop up should say capture any full screen application. I've had some trouble with this. It doesn't seem to always be able to find my game running. So sometimes you'll have to change this mode to capture specific window and then select the right window in the drop down below. And you can leave the window match priority on executable name. Multi-adapter settings, this is an option if you're using multiple graphics cards, so something like Crossfire or SLI technology, then you want to be enabling this option just to get the full performance benefits of having multiple graphics cards. The force scaling option is useful for downscaling resolution, so if you need to do that, you can enter your custom resolution here. You can leave allow transparency unchecked, because not many games need transparency, but if you do require this option, then this is where you enable it. Now the limit capture frame rate option is if you are capturing a game at a very high frame rate. So let's say you're playing something like CSGO or Overwatch and you want to keep a high frame rate in game, something like 144 FPS, because you have a high monitor refresh rate. If you enable this option, it would let OBS capture at a lower frame rate, say 30 or 60 FPS, because that's what you're actually streaming at. So it can be useful to test this option if you're having some sort of FPS issues. I actually leave it unchecked because I've got quite a good computer, but I have used it in the past when I've had a worse system. The capture cursor option does exactly as it says, allows you to be able to capture your mouse. Now there's a lot of debate around the use anti-cheat compatibility hook option. This basically just may need to be enabled for OBS to work with some games. So if you're having trouble capturing a game, maybe you're just getting a black screen even though you've selected the exact game that you want to capture, you may just be worth enabling this option to make sure that it's not the anti-cheat that is stopping you from being able to capture the game in OBS. If you want to be able to capture your overlays like Steam Overlay, then you can enable capture third-party overlays, but I don't really know why you'd want to do that. Hopefully by now you should have a preview of your game and you can hit OK